culture can be a little bit of a feeling. I think it's a little bit of an emotion. I think that's what you feel of the culture. Culture is a place that you create that everybody enjoys coming to every single day.
Go get me some knowledge.
I want to know what the secret sauce is, right? Because I know that you have this distinction of being one of few football players that have won a Super Bowl as not only a player, but as a coach. You also won when you were a freshman back in Northeast Louisiana, which is now, what do they call it now? Louisiana Monroe. Like Louisiana Monroe. You won a district championship when you were a high school coach. You won in college. You won in the pros. Like we identify that. So what is the secret sauce to those championship teams? And I'm not going to hold you to like, these are my 3 keys, but what are some of the things that all those teams have in common?
Well, I'll say this, the right off the top, you have to have good players.
So talent is the obvious. You got to have good players first.
Listen, talent, you got to have a talented roster, and that goes without saying. After that,
but that doesn't guarantee you success, right? Because I've been on a bunch of teams where we had so much talent, but we were so stupid that we were always 8-8 back when they had 16 games, like when you and I played.
Yeah.
But that's obviously number one.
Well, and I think, okay, so you have that, but at the same time, I think this is where whoever stands in front of that room, in front of that team, you have to create, in my opinion, you have to create a common language. You have to create a language that when a camera and a microphone is put in front of a player's face, they're regurgitating what the coach said in that team meeting, and what his methodology is, what his belief system is, whether it's right or wrong. You have to believe in something, or what you're going to fall for anything that comes your way. And so for me, it was about teaching and having a common theme, a common thread for that particular year, whether it was, work to win, or it's not finished or enough, or whatever your
phrase is, your tagline,
whatever it is for your season, like Super Bowl 52, it was all about chopping wood, right? It was, let's keep chopping, boys. Let's keep
underdog mentality too. Yeah.
And it was underdog mentality. So I think you've got to have that common thread that your players believe. And even in Jacksonville, our first year in 22, when we won the AFC South, it was always the Jags. It was always the Jags. It was always the Jags. But that's something that the players could believe in, right? And so, yes, you got to have talent. Yes, you got to have, I think, that common thread. But I think really another phase, and probably one of the most important phases to me, is the coaching that goes along with that. And the coaching, again, to make these players better and believe that they can win that football game, regardless of what maybe you're down a couple of guys because they're injured that week, or your quarterback's out, or whatever it might be, or you're facing a better opponent, but you still got to get that team to believe that they're better than, and then just stay in the course. I think it's one play at a time mentality. I think it is that chopping wood. I think it's just, staying consistent in your messaging has really, I think, is the glue that binds those teams together and really brings those teams together. I think about the lead. And the other thing too, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that team in 17, when we won that championship in Philadelphia, I put everything right back on those players, and I challenged the players. And I remember in a team meeting at the beginning of the season, I says, guys, okay, we're getting ready for the 2017 season. We just got our roster down to 53. And I said, guys, how do you want this season to go? What does it look like for you? Not for me. I know what I want it to look like, but what's it going to look like for you? And are you willing to put in the time? Are you willing to put in what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to cut out of your life right now that's pulling you away from your job being the best defensive end, quarterback, running back, safety, O-line, whatever it is? What's pulling you from becoming the best version of you? And so, I put it right back on the team and challenge them, and then hold them accountable. They're going to hold me accountable. I'm going to hold them accountable. And I think that's a big part of that glue that keeps those teams together. Because honestly, I mean, look at the run that Kansas City had, and sure, players come and go, but the core nucleus of players are still there, and that culture is still there. And of course, Andy Reid is still preaching the same messages that he probably taught back in Philly in 1999. When I was that first year quarterback with him. So, and I think that culture holds a lot. It doesn't matter what comes. There's going to be a lot of stuff thrown at you. But that culture, man, is so strong because of what you've been preaching, how you practice, how you play, how the players approach their business. And to me, that's kind of the, if there is a secret sauce, I think that's to me what it is to win a championship at regardless of what level.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned, because I do think when people think about pro athletes, I think they assume, they just say, hey, go get them, open the door. And they just, hey, you're a pro. I'm paying you to go do a job. Go build me a house. Go score me a touchdown. Like, I'm paying you. They still need to get motivated. There still needs to be a buy-in factor. And the two more things, because I wanted to end with one thing that I'll get to after this, because you mentioned it already, was the culture. To me, every single team I've ever spoken to, every coach, regardless of the sport, regardless of level, the holy grail of sports is what you had just mentioned, is this culture. It's this culture that they're all trying to find and create. And I don't know if anyone really has truly identified it, because I feel like it's a moving target in a way. And I almost feel like it's like watching porn. You know it when you see it. You know it when you're part of it.
Yeah.
No, like, you've won championships. And I remember watching your season. You beat the Patriots. I mean, I was at that game. I was covering the Patriots. And you can just tell. And you feel it when you walk through the locker room. You know it when you get up in the morning, and you feel it on the bus. It's so hard to maintain. That's what I think what the Chiefs have been doing is just remarkable. I mean, they got talent, but sustaining that and nobody getting uptight or acting out, it's so commendable to, Andy Reid and his staff.
100%, 100%. Same way in New England with Bill, and of course when Tom was there and had some great teams. And again, players come and go, but their culture was so strong. It didn't matter who came, who knew was coming onto that team as a player or a coach. Man, they bought in right away. And I think too, culture can be a little bit of a feeling. I think it's a little bit of an emotion. I think that's what you feel of the culture. Culture is a place that you create that everybody enjoys coming to every single day. You enjoy when you wake up in the morning, you enjoy going to the office and putting the pads on, knowing we're going to have a 9-on-7 today, or a team run period today, or we're in training camp and it's going to be 95 degrees and it's going to be hot. And yet you enjoy that as a player because you're going to go to a place that you enjoy working at. And because everybody gets along, they're speaking the same language, I'm being coached right. And so I think that's the essence of what a culture is. And it's, it's created, you have to work
Yeah.
at it.
Mm-hmm.
But the culture the next year is not going to be the same as it was last year. You got to almost start over. You got to reinvent yourself again the next year and sort of build on last year. But at the same time, I think your identity is going to be a little bit different. The faces are a little bit new, but I think too, sometimes your core principles will never change. Whatever those are, as a coach, whoever the coach is, they're going to have his core values, and this is what I believe, right? And I think too, like, and this is what I kept preaching to my team all the time. There were three things that I kept preaching. One is let's not beat ourselves. Let's not beat ourselves. Let's not be the team that goes out there and fumbles the ball, turnovers the ball, jumps off sides, making dumb mistakes. Let's be the team that plays within ourselves, and we're going to be a smarter football team. We're not going to beat ourselves. We're also going to be a more physical football team. We're going to kind of impose our will on our opponents. We're going to be the more physical football team. That's blocking, that's tackling, that's running with the ball, whatever it looks like. And then the last one was, let's be a better conditioned football team. Those teams in the fourth quarter, when it's hot in September and October, who's the better conditioned football team that's going to run away with this football game? So those three things to me were always sort of the core makeup of our culture that I talked about in Philly, and I also talked about in Jacksonville, that's something that's tangible that the guys can see, they can feel it, and that also sort of feeds into the mentality of what your culture is all about.